A room falls silent, tension thickens, and without thinking, you're the one who steadies the moment. Ever notice why that happens? It's not an accident or luck. It's a misunderstood pattern that points to something deeper in the way you operate. Your brain shifts into modes that most people only access under pressure, and it does it automatically. And once you see what that says about you, the way you handle life starts to make more sense. Hit like and subscribe, and let's uncover what these moments are really showing you. Habit 1. Staying calm during panic. Have you ever noticed how you become almost unnaturally still when everyone else starts to unravel? When panic rises around you, it isn't that you're detached or unfazed. It's that your mind doesn't get swept into the emotional contagion that pulls most people off balance. Your nervous system holds its own shape instead of mirroring the tension in the room. And that resistance creates a sense of gravity others instinctively lean toward. People read your steadiness as safety, even if they can't explain why, because your calm gives their bodies permission to settle. In those moments, you stop reacting and start anchoring. And that shift changes the entire emotional temperature around you. What you might not see is how this quiet stability reveals something deeper about how you move through the world. And that deeper layer has a way of showing itself in more subtle situations, too. Habit 2. Diffusing tension without drama. Psychology says one of the rarest social skills is the ability to lower a room's tension without anyone realizing you did it. You do this almost effortlessly, offering a calm, well-timed comment that shifts the emotional current without dismissing what people feel. Your voice softens the edges of the moment, and your presence signals that the situation doesn't need to spiral any further. This comes from emotional regulation that runs deeper than people assume, paired with an intuitive awareness of what others are experiencing beneath their words. While most people either absorb the stress or react to it, you navigate it with precision, changing the atmosphere without turning yourself into the center of attention. You don't overpower energy, you redirect it. And that subtle shift often prevents conversations from turning into conflicts. And if you look closely, this ability isn't just about calming people down. It hints at how you read unspoken signals long before they're obvious to anyone else. Habit 3. Staying curious in conflict. Why is it that when a conversation gets tense, your first instinct isn't to defend yourself, but to understand what's really happening underneath? While many people brace for impact the moment disagreement appears, you move toward it with a kind of quiet curiosity that changes the entire dynamic. Instead of pushing back, you ask the questions that reveal what the other person is actually feeling. And this response shows a level of intellectual humility most people rarely practice. Your mind doesn't lock into proving a point. It opens, looking for the missing piece that makes the situation make sense. That openness lowers the other person's guard, because curiosity communicates something deeper than agreement ever could. It tells them they're not being judged. As the tension softens, you create a space where explanation replaces defensiveness, and where clarity becomes possible again. And the more you respond this way, the more you begin to notice how many hidden layers people carry that only reveal themselves when someone is willing to look past the surface. Habit 4. Making others sound smarter. People often think leadership is about having the best ideas, but the truth is far more uncomfortable for most people to accept. You've noticed that when someone shares a thought that doesn't quite land, your mind naturally reshapes it into something clearer, something the room can actually use. You're not stealing their idea or polishing it for credit. You're translating it in a way that fits the group's language. And that's a form of social intelligence most people never learn to use intentionally. You sense what the person meant beneath their words, and you sense what the room needs in order to hear it. So you become the bridge between the two. And without realizing it, you help people feel more capable, because their ideas finally find the space and framing they deserve. This is why people tend to relax around you in discussions. They know you'll help their thoughts take shape instead of letting them disappear. And when you pay attention to how naturally you do this, it starts to reveal an even deeper pattern in the way your mind works with groups. Habit 5. Starting without certainty. There's a quiet kind of relief that comes when you finally understand why you move before you feel ready. While most people wait for perfect timing or unanimous agreement, you step forward as if clarity will meet you along the way. This isn't recklessness. It's a form of action-oriented thinking, where momentum creates the information your brain needs. You don't rely on certainty because your mind is more attuned to testing reality than imagining every possible outcome in advance. And when you act, even imperfectly, something changes in the people around you. They stop overthinking and start following your lead. What feels natural to you becomes the catalyst for others, breaking the mental loops that keep groups stuck in hesitation. And when you look at this pattern closely, it starts to reveal something essential about the way you approach challenges long before anyone else is willing to move. Habit 6. Giving direction, then leaving space. The moment you say what needs to be done and then step back, something almost paradoxical happens in the people around you. You're not withdrawing or disengaging. You're signaling a level of trust that most people rarely experience in group settings. Your mind naturally leans toward autonomy-supportive leadership, where clarity is given upfront and freedom fills the space that follows. Instead of hovering, you allow others to think, decide, and problem-solve in their own way, which quietly strengthens their confidence. People rise when they feel believed in, and your restraint becomes the permission they didn't know they needed to take ownership. You sense when someone needs guidance and when they need room, and that sensitivity is what shapes the creativity and independence that grow under your influence. And if you tune in, you'll notice that this instinct to create space often shows up in smaller moments too, revealing something deeper about the way you empower the people around you. Habit 7. Speaking last in group settings. People often assume that speaking first shows confidence, but in reality, it can hide more insecurity than it reveals. While others rush to fill silence just to prove they're paying attention, you hold your thoughts, letting the room spill its ideas before you share your own. This isn't hesitation. It's the way your mind gathers context, patterns, and gaps, allowing your words to land with far more weight. By the time you speak, you've already processed what people meant, not just what they said, and that makes your insight feel unusually grounded. Others may not consciously notice the timing, but they feel the shift when your voice enters the conversation, because it brings a clarity the discussion didn't have before. Your restraint creates anticipation, and anticipation creates influence. And somewhere inside that quiet patience is a deeper instinct, one that shapes not just how you speak, but how you understand people. Habit 8. Taking responsibility. A project falls apart, tensions rise, and before anyone decides who to blame, you quietly say, "That's on me." Have you noticed how different that moment feels compared to everything around it? Taking responsibility this quickly isn't weakness or guilt. It's a sign that your mind is wired to look for solutions instead of escape routes. While others instinctively protect their image, you shift into an internal locus of control, where owning the problem gives you the power to change the outcome. People feel the difference instantly because responsibility without defensiveness creates safety. Suddenly, mistakes aren't weapons, they're information. And that shift affects more than the situation itself. It alters how people relate to you because they sense the honesty underneath your words. When you take ownership this way, even quietly, it resets the emotional tone of the group and pulls everyone out of the blame cycle. And if you listen closely to that instinct, you'll notice it's not about fault at all. It's about the kind of person you've been becoming for a long time. These habits you've carried for years are more than tendencies. They're signs of a mind that steps forward in ways others don't fully understand. You navigate tension, uncertainty, and emotion with an instinct that quietly reshapes the spaces around you. And once you recognize that, your story starts to feel a lot more coherent. If you'd like to keep exploring these deeper parts of yourself, you can like and subscribe whenever it feels right. And if something in you is curious, The next video reveals why certain weird traits may actually be proof of a far sharper intelligence within you.